already talked about the Kirk Cousins contract dilemma where it kind of looks like it can't be, dealt with like in terms of getting rid of him through unless it's through a trade, which could be difficult. So I thought, what could be causing this to look at? And if you want to just look at Kirk's base value, numbers here 64.6%, 1,475 yards. He does have 11 touchdowns, but he's thrown 10 interceptions, a 6.3 touchdown percentage, which is nice, but 5.7 interception percentage, not nice, and a quarterback rating of 88.2. Now, Pro Football Reference has him down for 25 bad throws, which is 20th in the league. And I have sorted this as, whoever has the most bad throws is, they lead the league. So he's 20th in terms of bad throw percentage, 14.9%, 23rd. On target throws, he has 134, which is 19th. But in terms of his on target percentage, because they do run quite a bit with Dalvin Cook, it's 79.8%, which is 8th in the league. So he's already been sacked 14 times, which is the 8th most. He has been hit 23 times, tied for the most. He's been pressured 55 times, which is 8th most in the league. But the pressure percentage, which is the amount of times the percentage that he is pressured every time Minnesota goes back to drop back to throw the ball, is at 28.2%, which is good for 3rd in the league. Now, if you want to look at this versus the 2019 season, which was pretty good, he had 65 bad throws, which is 24th. His bad throw percentage was 15.5%, which was 25th, which is actually down this year, down to 14.9%. His on-target percentage is actually also a little better this year at 79.8%. It was 79% last year, which was good for 5th. So where's the big difference? The big difference is all of the hits and the pressure numbers. So overall, throughout the entire season last year, he was sacked 28 times, which was good for 22nd in the league. He was hit only 30 times, which was good for 20th in the league. He was pressured 106 times, which is 23rd. And his pressure percentage was at 22%, which was 16th, so it was very middle of the pack. Where this year, he's one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the league. And it's kind of like we already kind of know the book on Kirk Cousins, which is if you protect him, he's a different looking kind of guy. And they simply decided to ignore the guards. This is what happens when you ignore guards and offensive linemen when you have a quarterback who must be protected. You don't necessarily have one of those guys where he makes people miss. Not too many teams have that kind of guy. There's only a few of them in the league, so it's really not even a knock on that. This is more on the Vikings for not actually approaching the line with any kind of seriousness. And just to look at the difference between 2019 and 2020, in 2019 they had Josh Klein and Pat Elflein. They both started the majority of the year. Klein 13 games, Elflein 15. Now, Pro Football Focus had Klein at a 61.5 grade. He allowed 2 sacks and 3 penalties on the year. Elflein started 15 games, 64.7 PFF grade, 6 sacks allowed and 8 penalties. And even though he's super bipolar in terms of his actual play, that's what I like to say about him. Strictly because he's really, really good as a run blocker. Just he can be a major liability as a pass blocker. That's why I was like, I don't know about him. But now we see why he's out there all the time. But in comparison to this season, he's the most started right guard. He has 4 games. He has a 33.3 Pro Football Focus grade. He has already allowed 3 sacks and 4 flags. Dakota Dozier has started all 6 games, 50.5 Pro Football Focus grade. He allowed 2 sacks and 2 penalties to this point. And if they were to start the rest of the season, like projection-wise, Samia would allow 8 sacks and is on pace for 14 penalties. And Dakota Dozier, 16 games, 5 sacks allowed, 5 penalties. So I can't really project a Pro Football Focus grade, though. So that's unfortunate. However, I think you can look at the biggest reason why this decline has happened is not necessarily Kirk. I think Kirk actually may be the same guy he's always been. Just the problem is those guys up front are not the same people, and we need those same people back. It almost feels like in order for this to kind of fix itself. And the reason why this could be important is because of that contract. That contract may not be something they can get rid of. This is something that they can actually potentially fix and kind of work with what they had last year going forward into the future. And that could be something more likely than actually getting rid of Kirk, like a lot of fans want, strictly because of that contract. And it's something you have to think about because what's easier to fix? Two horrendous guards or getting rid of a quarterback who has a very expensive price on him, who doesn't really look to be playing his best football right now, and there's a lowered cap after this year. So trading him is going to be super difficult, and it just is what it is. It may be easier to fix the two guard spots than it would be to get a new starting quarterback. And I know that's something a lot of fans don't really want to hear because basically all of Viking land is kind of fire Zimmer, get rid of Kirk. Where I don't think it's necessarily that cut and dry all the time. So it is what it is. I would like to know your guys' comments and opinions down below. Like and subscribing, super helpful. And until next time, I've been yelling.